Super. Welcome, Beady friends. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Meredith Roddy, and I work for a company called Beadalon and Artistic Wire. And I am so very happy to be teaching this last minute holiday gifts class for Michael's today. So while we are waiting for everybody to join us and bop on and get ready, my question out of the gate, I would love to know, is it snowing where you are? I'm in southeastern Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia, and it started snowing about 45 minutes ago. And you can see the huge smile that I have on my face. Snow makes me so happy. Snow also makes Finn, my puppy, who many of you know from taking my past classes, makes him very happy too. So I took him out right before class started. We had a little romp in the snow. So good moods for everyone. So welcome. Again, for those of you who are joining us, my name is Meredith, and today for class, we are going to be making some last minute stretch bracelets. And I know we're getting to the crunch of the holidays, right? I know I'm feeling the crunch. I'm hoping that things that I'm ordering are going to ship in time for Christmas. We just did Hanukkah last week, so I'm kind of in that middle point of it's a little bit settled down, but also about to ramp way back up again. And there are a lot of people who I need to make quick last minute gifts for. My kids' teachers, some friends of mine, people at work, relatives, all of the people who you're like, oh, I totally forgot to make them something, or I don't have anything for them. Well, I've got you covered because we are going to very quickly make a couple of stretch bracelets using the elastic cord needle from Beadalon that you can find in Michael's. So I think without further ado, Lindsay, we can go ahead and take that overhead camera and we're just going to get right into it. So the materials that you need for today, very simple. I'm going easy on you this week. Last week, if you joined me, we did a little bit of a complicated project, a netted ornament. So we're taking a break this week and we're going to do something a little more simple. So this is the elastic cord needle, and it's this really cool tool. It's really a misnomer. It looks like a needle, but it's actually a tool. And this guy has a loop on one end right here, and that's going to act as a stopper to hold your beads in place. And then over here on the other end is a little hook. Let's see if I can get that little hook into, there we go, nice focus. It's a little hook. Now you have to be careful and gentle with this hook. And if you are careful and gentle with this hook, it will last and last. But if you try to put something into this hook that's a little bit too thick, or try to pull beads over that the holes are a little small, the hook will be very unhappy with you. So keep your hook happy and it will stay with you for a long time. So this is the elastic cord needle, and I'm going to show you how it works to make some very snazzy, simple and fast stretch bracelets. So the other thing that you're going to need, what I'm going to be using today, is some stretch material, some elastic material. And this elastic material that I am using is from the Value Pack of Stretch Cord by Bead Landing. This is the Michael's brand, and it is an awesome value pack. You get 4 spools. You can see I've taken 3 of my spools out. And they come in 2 different diameter groupings. So one is 0.8 and 1 millimeter, and then the other is 0.5 and 0.7 millimeters. Now, very quickly and very importantly out of the gate, you do not want to use that 1 millimeter diameter with the elastic cord needle. So just file that back in the back of your mind. Anything up to the 0.8 is going to be the thickest that you can use in this needle. The 1.0 millimeters will end up stretching out and breaking this little guy right here. And it's really just a matter of, is it physics? Is it the manufacturing process? Because this needs to be bent over to hook into the cord, the thicker this is, the less beads that you'll be able to fit over it. So that's why we kind of did a really nice kind of middle ground. So the thickest material won't fit in, but the up to and including the 0.8 millimeter will work just fine. Now, just a quick reminder before we get into everything, this meeting is being recorded. Not that you'll need to go back and watch a million different times, because this is truly a very easy technique. However, if you do want to go back and watch over and over again, or you're joining us on the replay, you can feel free to fast forward, reverse, watch over and over again to your heart's content. So the third thing that you'll need for this project are a pair of scissors. So this is just a little pair of scissors, nice sharp scissors. Any scissors that you have will do. And that's going to be used, of course, for cutting the elastic cord. Now, what I love about making these last minute stretch bracelets is it really is a whatever you have in your stash kind of project. So I had a whole bunch of red and green beads, some silver or some clear beads in here as well, all different shapes, all different sizes. Anything that you have in your stash will work. I grabbed just a bunch of stuff from my Michael's bag of beads here, and I'm gonna kind of see what calls to me as we are working. The important thing that you have to remember though, and the reason why I think Michael's beads are some of the best beads for this project is because they have these nice big holes. Let's see if we can get a nice close shot of that hole. See how large that hole is? You want to make sure that the bead holes will fit over this elastic cord needle. The elastic cord needle is about 1 millimeter thick, give or take. So the holes in your beads logically need to fit over the needle. And some beads won't fit. Let's say I'm just going to grab this from my stash up here, and this one actually does, which is fantastic. Let's see. Will this one fit? Just want to try to find one that doesn't fit. Okay, this one has a smaller hole, and you can see it doesn't fit through the needle, and that's just going to be a kind of a trial and error kind of a thing. But like I said, most of the Michael's beads have really nice large holes, and are perfect for this technique. So first things first, I got my first bead here. So let's see, who wants to join this guy over here? I think I want to try this strand right here. These are my new kind of go-to, buy all the time I see them, beads. They're just glass faceted beads, and they come in a lot of different colors. These are the red ones, and they have 4 different sizes. It's let's see, it's a 4, a 6, a 8, and a 10, and I am going to choose the 8s. And again, I'm just going to double check. I'm going to assume that the holes are the right size, and in fact, yep, they are. And as I'm doing this, I'm just going to bring my camera down just a skosh so we can really see what's going on. Okay, but whenever I bring it down so far, I get so excited that it's so close. And yet I have to remember, I don't want to keep hitting it at every venture. So you can see the area on this needle is really perfect for making a bracelet. And I'll show you a little trick also if you want to make something longer than the needle. So let's see, I'm just going to do a very simple big bead, little bead. And I didn't even pre-string up anything because I'm using large beads, and I'm using and I'm just making a bracelet. So again, the name of the game on this class is quick last minute gifts, right? So maybe we put on a nice Christmas movie, a holiday movie, maybe some nice music in the background, and just bang out a whole bunch of last minute gifts for your teachers, for any special person in your life. I know I have a long list of people, especially in these times, that I just want to give a little thank you to let them know, especially in these crazy times that we are living through, how special they are. You can also, if you don't have this needle, you can certainly do this technique using just the elastic cord, although it's a little harder to do that way, or you can use a collapsible eye or a big eye beading needle. And if we have a little time, maybe I will show that as well. But the important part is that we're showcasing here, and what really makes it a nice fast project is using this elastic cord needle. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this back right on my bead board. I have let me just show it right here. I have a ruler, little ruler tape, and 7 inches is about the right size for me, for my wrist, for making a stretchy bracelet. But what I find is that sometimes people's wrists are a little bit longer or a little bit bigger or a little bit shorter, which is why having a stretch bracelet is really good. But I would recommend between 7 and 7.5 inches is a good kind of standard bracelet size for most people. Okay, so I have this all strung up, and I'm just going to bring it back just a skosh, and I want to talk a little bit about stretch material. So no matter what brand of stretch material that you use, whether it's the Michael's Value Pack Bead Landing, if it is the Beadalon Elasticity, if it's another brand that you have, you always want to pre-stretch your elastic cord. Okay, that's one of the things that I think that people sometimes forget to do. And you always want to stretch it, because if you don't pre-stretch it, it will stretch on you eventually, and then you'll get spaces in between your beads, and you do not want that. So we're going to pull out about 20 inches. I'm a bad measurer. I go by things like wingspans and half wingspans, and just a little bit here and there. But for this project, we're going to snip off about 20 inches. Okay, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this cord. Now, you don't want to stretch it so much that you break it. And that is a possibility with stretch material. It's not superhuman. It's not wire. It's not, I don't know what else it would be that would make it. It's not made out of, a non-breakable material. So I'm giving it some nice gentle tugs, but I'm taking out all of that extra room in there that that could and will sag after too long. And what I'm doing is I'm using a doubled strand. One of the questions that we get often at Beadalon when people are asking about stretch cord is, my stretch cord broke, or how can I make my stretchy bracelet as strong as possible? What I really like to do, especially when I'm using the elastic cord needle, is double it. So if your stretch cord or stretch material will fit through your beads doubled, then that is what I recommend doing. Other people might recommend other things, but that's how I make all of my stretch bracelets. Now, let's come down a little bit closer here and see that little hook that I was referring to earlier. Let's get a nice close up of that little hook. So as I was saying in the beginning, that little hook is just the smallest piece of metal, of wire really, that has been filed down and bent over on itself. So you want to be very careful with this little hook. It is a very, very thin piece of metal bent over another very, very thin piece of metal. So if you can appreciate that, you just want to be gentle and not force things, because if you are not gentle and you do force things, that is when that little hook can be not your friend and will break off. Now, what I just did really very, very carefully is I pulled very gently my elastic material under that hook, because this is where the magic happens. I'm going to now take my beads from my elastic cord needle And very gently, I'm going to pull them over onto my doubled elastic cord. And again, I'm not shoving them down. I'm not pulling them down. I'm doing this very gently so that the beads will come down onto the doubled cord, but also the hook is not being put under any undue stress. Okay, and sometimes the beads will tell you that they're not all that super happy about this process, and those beads might need to come off and be used in a different project. It's a little bit silly the way that I talk about it, but your beads will really tell you whether or not the materials that you're using are the right ones. So for example, the holes I can feel, and you can probably see as I'm stringing, these little red beads are they're just a little tight. They're working because I'm working them through and being very gentle. I'm not getting frustrated and yanking them through, because that's when our materials will fail us, and our beads will become angry with us, and then they won't cooperate. So just pulling this down again. I'm using a doubled 0.8 millimeter stretch cord, and I cut it about 20 inches. If you feel more comfortable, you can cut more than 20 inches. I wouldn't go any less though. And I'm making my bracelet about 7.5 inches. Okay. And so as I'm going, I'm just kind of pulling down. And because these red beads are really jammed in there, they're holding on to the end here. I don't have to worry really about any beads sliding off. But if I had started with the green bead, I might want to just be careful and make sure. You could tie a little knot on the end. You could use a bead stopper. It's kind of up to you for how you want that cord to stay. And now I have my last bead. And now what I can do is very gently, again, pull that stretch cord out of the little hook there on my needle, and now I'm ready to tie my knot. If I needed to, if I was like, oh my goodness, I forgot one of these red beads, or I wanted to make it a little bit longer, all I would need to do is just come back in here. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, all I would need to do is first put the beads onto the needle again and come back here, and then do that same thing to move my beads off. So one of the reasons why I really like this needle is it makes it very easy to do the design process as you are going along. So instead of using a bead board or laying things out on the bead mat, you can really see how things are going to come together on the elastic cord needle. So now what I have, and what did I wanted to mention? Oh, another question that we get a lot about stringing material is what stringing material should I use? How thick of a material should I use? And the answer that we always give is you want to use the thickest material that will fit through your beads. So you really want to fill, let's see if I can get up here. You want to fill these bead holes up as much as you can, because what that does is that limits the abrasion, or the cutting of the beads. If I was using crystals for this, for example, the ends of crystals can get very, very sharp. And those crystals, when they move around, can cut through your stretch material. So that's why you always want to fill those beads up as much as you can. So let's see. The next thing we want to do, and I always want to move my loop a little bit so it's not the very part that I had in the needle on that I'm tying my knot on. It's just one of those things. I like to move it to the side a little bit. So there are a couple of different ways that you can tie this knot. And the way that I like to do it is as follows. So let's see. see if I can remember. Just kidding. This is how I like to do this knot. So what I'm going to do, and this is the knot that I suggested in the instructions that were sent out. Sometimes your stringing material will call for a different kind of knot, but this is the one that I am going to use today. So I have a loop here on one side and two little antennae, I like to call them, on the other side. And what we're going to do is we're going to thread both of those antennae through that loop. Okay, so now we have all this extra space here. So all we need to do is move our beads gently. And those red ones are really filled in. So we just kind of have to coax them out. And move them down to the side. And you might have to do that once or twice because I still have a little bit of room here. And if you've taken my classes before, you've probably heard me say small incremental movements are always best. So moving everything a little bit and then a little bit more and then a little bit more is always better than trying to shove everything down at once. Okay, so now I have that really nice and everything is all tightened up. And if I hadn't pre-stretched this, it would still, this is what would happen, but over time, the more that you stretch it to put it on and take it off, the more it would stretch out. Excuse me, I have a sneeze that's about to come. The more it will stretch out over time. So you always, always, always want to stretch out your elastic cord. Also Nymo, also silk. Those are the ones that you want to stretch out. Okay, so again, there are several great knots that you can tie in your elastic cord. This is what I've been doing most often. So I have my two, let's see how close I can get this. That's not bad, right? So I have my loop is on the top, and then my two strands are coming out the bottom underneath that that loop. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one that I have on the right, and I'm actually going to thread it underneath. Okay. And then I'm going to take this one that I have on the left, and I'm also going to thread it underneath. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a surgeon's knot with these two ends, which is, and the way that I do my surgeon's knot here is I go under once and under twice. Oftentimes I'll do that second loop second, but here I'm doing it first. Okay, so that's right over left twice, and I'm going to pull it tight. I am not pulling it so tight that I can't, that I'm going to break these two ends, but I'm tying it tight enough that I'm tying a tight knot. And then I'm going to go left over right. So I went right over left, and then I'm going left over right once and tie that tight. Now I'm actually going to show everything soup to nuts, top to bottom again. But then this next time I'm going to show it just with a single strand rather than doubled. Okay. And I'm going to show that not a single strand rather than doubled also. Now I generally is a tough word, but often, more often than not, I don't put any glue on my knot, but I know that people do like to put glue on their knot. So you could put a little dab of glue here. And if I had been planning a little bit better, I would have done a bead here with a really big hole that I could pull that knot back into and hide it. Okay, and after my glue dried, I will snip off the ends and call it a day. And I'm just going to show that knot again one more time just on this knot for those of you, because it can be a little bit difficult to see. So here is my right hand side, right here, the twisty side, and I'm going to go over left through the loop once and through the loop twice. Okay, I would use a dab of GS Hypo Cement or Bead Fix for that glue. Okay, so that's the first part of my surgeon's knot. And so we'll just pretend all this gobbledygook isn't here down at the bottom. And we're going to pull that tight. So I just went right over left. And now I'm going to go left over right. So this one here is on the left. And this time I'm just going once through the loop and pull tight. Okay. I'm also using pretty thick. This is the 0.8 millimeter. So that is going to give you a bigger knot. Because I'm using it doubled, I could use the 0.5 millimeter. But to demonstrate, it is much better for you guys to see if I'm using a thicker material. So let's do that one more time, shall we? Because I'm feeling a little fancy. Let's just sparkle it up for this next one. Hopefully, all of the bead holes. I'm going to assume my bead holes are really good sizes. And for this one, I'm just going to do a single strand through the elastic cord needle, and we'll do a little bit of a different knot. Okay, so let's just go, and we're going to string these up really quickly. And I just love how fast these little gifts work up. So that last one that I did top to bottom with all of the explaining and the super slow motion going of the knot was what, 15 minutes? Knots are always tough, and they can be your Achilles heel or your nemesis or your enemy. Enemy is a strong word, but I find that a little bit of patience, a little bit of glue sometimes, and the right stringing materials really help when it comes to knots. And I'm going to show a couple of different things that you can try that might work out better for you. That's why there are so many different ways of doing these kinds of projects, because what works for one person might not be the best thing for another person. The glue that works perfectly for me might not be your perfect glue. And that a lot of times I get asked, like, why are there so many different things? Can you just tell me the one thing that is my perfect solution to everything? Oftentimes that doesn't exist. There isn't the perfect solution. I also don't mind seeing knots in my elastic cord in my stretch bracelets, because I know that it's going to be a little bit stronger if my knot isn't either hidden in a bead that might cut through it, or if my bead holes weren't big enough to hide it. A lot of people, that is a deal breaker for, and I can appreciate that for sure. I ran out of beads. So let's see. I think I'm going to finish off just with a couple of these. This might not be the prettiest bracelet I've ever made, but we're proving a point. We're using what we have in our stash. And that's part of what I love about this kind of a project, is because it really can use up whatever you have in your stash. And this needle will actually work for if you had some wildfire, or not necessarily beading wire. I don't think that you wouldn't really need it for beading wire, but it would work great for wildfire. Anything that is thin enough to fit into that little hook without putting it under undue duress. Okay, so let's see, where did my stretchy cord go? Okay, that's the thinner one. So I'm gonna go back, and I'm gonna use that thicker cord again, especially because we're doing this as a single this time. So I'm just gonna pull out way more than I need, but again, it's better to have too much than too little. And of course, I am pre-stretching my elastic. And when you do this, you'll feel it give and kind of loosen up on you. And you'll really feel the difference when you give it a nice, good stretch. Again, you don't want to do it so much that you break it. which you can. It's not made out of iron, but with good care and with good attention, it should be a good product for you. Okay, so I've got my good stretchies down, and now I don't need to double it. I'm just going to bend over, I don't know, 2 inches or so right there on the end. And again, just like I did before, I want to do this part nice and slow. I'm just going to pull that right underneath the hook. Did I get a nice good angle on that? Yeah, right underneath the hook, just like that. And once again, we're going to do this part gently. This isn't a yanker down kind of a thing. We're just going to gently, and see how I'm kind of twisting the beads also to cajole them over. If I was using thinner material, you wouldn't be able to see it as well, but also these would slide over just a little bit easier. So again, let's see if I can get that cajoled over. And if I put a bead on that wasn't working, again, I could just unhook this, take the bead off, replace it with something else, and then start over again. Okay. And I did mention that I was going to show another, just a collapsible eye needle. And let me just get this last one on, these last couple on. And I'm going to take that off, and just for fun, I'm going to grab a collapsible eye needle over here from my needles. And you can see that even if you don't have a elastic cord needle, I love when I forget the names of my products when I'm talking about them, you can do the same technique and just make a really quick and fast stretch bracelet with a collapsible eye needle. And if you didn't have any of the needles, you could string up beads as well. It's up to you. I just find using this is a nice tool to be able to string up my designs quickly and easily. Okay, so now there are a couple of different kinds of knots that you can tie over here. You can do that same kind of surgeon's knot. So I'll show you that really quickly. Again, we've got my right side here and my left side here. I'm going to go once, twice, right over left, left over right. And then this is the left over right part, right? Through here. Now, another tip to getting really good, strong knots on your elastic cord is you want to pull from the top, but you also want to get in here. Sometimes it can be a little bit fiddly, but you just got to show those beads what you want to do. And also pull from the bottom. So you're pulling tight from the top and pulling tight from the bottom. Pull it up even closer. And that gives you a really, really nice tight knot. Now, of course, I did not do that with as great care. So I do have some spaces in here, but if I were doing this as it was actually going to be a piece, I would have made sure to not have those spaces in there. But here, let's see. No, we're still not going to be able to get into the bead really well. But another thing that you can do is a figure 8 knot. If you're like, the surgeon's knot isn't for me. So the way that this knot works is you have both of them together and you're going to come around. Let's see if I can show this in a way that you can see. So you're going to come around and then through the loop. I'm going to do that again so that everybody can see. But the important part is around and through that loop. And then what I like to do is pull from the top. So this is again a pull from the top and a pull from the bottom kind of a knot. Pull from the top, pull from the bottom. Of course, I have all that hawser down there now. But that's another knot that you can tie in your... One more time. So you have both of them together around. Now let me show it like this. And then you come around both and through the loop. It's a A little hard to demonstrate down here and not up at my face. But that also gives you a nice knot at the top of your elastic cord. And again, tighten all 4 ways to make for a really good tight knot. And I'm looking, I have a little tube of glue here. It's not necessarily the, I would not necessarily maybe use the Bead Fix. Actually, I would not use the Bead Fix. I would use the Beadalon bead stringing glue, which I don't have here on my work surface, if I wanted to do a little dab of glue. But on my stretch bracelets, I never use glue. There's a, there's kind of a, there are two ways or two schools of thought on using glue. You either use glue or you don't use glue. But I think that the chemicals in the glue actually can eat through the elasticity or the elastic cord. And so I tend to just try to tie the best knot that I can. You want to make sure that you're not using a cyanoacrylate glue. And that's what this Bead Fix gel is. It's, let's see if I can get that up in there. It's a cyanoacrylate, and what the cyanoacrylate is just it's just the chemicals that give the glue properties. They can eat through some materials. The Bead Fix gel is great for your for crystals, for all different kinds of things. But the the GS Hypo or the Beadalon bead stringing glue is better for when you're using like silk or for the elastic cord. I know we could spend a whole hour talking about different kinds of glues, but we'll tackle that in an upcoming Beadalon class for Michaels. So I promised quick and easy for last minute gifts, and I'm going to stick with quick and easy for last minute gifts. You can go ahead and rewatch this video as many times as you want. But Lindsay, I think it's time to come to the front facing camera. Because when I promise quick and easy, I'm going to deliver quick and easy. I know a lot of people have a lot of things to do today and throughout the rest of the holidays. So I want to make sure that we have enough time to get to all of the things that we need to get to. So once again, hopefully we can, there we go. There I am. I was like, wait a second. Thank you, Lindsay, for taking the forward camera. Once again, I had promised quick and easy last minute present projects. I showed how to do that with the Beadalon elastic cord needle. If you don't have one, you can certainly do stretch bracelets with a collapsible eye needle, or if you have a little bit more patience, just use the stretch material and use the string the beads directly on it. But I always find that if there's a tool that makes my job easier, especially when I am short on time, I definitely want that tool. So we are going to take a couple of weeks off from our Michaels classes. I am sending everybody cozy vibes with my penguin holiday t-shirt today. I wish everybody a happy Hanukkah, as we are still celebrating Hanukkah, and a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because I will not see you all until the new year. We have a ton of amazing classes that are going strong for the first quarter of next year. So definitely check back on the Michaels Community Classroom, not only to watch all of the classes that we've done since, gosh, what has it been, since June or July? There are tons of classes to go back and watch over and over again, maybe if you have a little extra time between Christmas and New Year's. But please keep looking on that community classroom page for Michaels, because Beadalon is just, we're so excited, and I am so excited to be teaching more classes in the new year. So with that, I'll wish everybody a warm, safe, happy, and healthy holiday season. And until next time, happy beading.